In this lesson, we'll build our first application. The entire process is made super easy by the .NET driver, that executable that we'll use for every step in the process, from initializing a new project to building it, running it, and then ultimately deploying it in an upcoming lesson. So we'll see how that utility helps us out. I've already got a new command prompt window open, and hopefully you're familiar enough with DOS that you know how to create directories, navigate through parent and child directories, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that. If you're like me and you are kind of an old guy, before Windows there was DOS and this is all you had and you were happy about it. So I'm changing directories out of my user directory just to the root of my C drive. And here what I want to do is make a new directory. So MD, and I'm going to call this Hello World. And then I'm going to change into that directory, Hello World. So CD space Hello World. I'll do a directory just so I can see all the files. There are no files in there just yet. So now I want to type in .NET space new, and giving it the .NET driver plus a command is how we'll essentially work with the .NET driver from this point on. You can also give it arguments, but we don't need any for this particular command. When I hit enter, we'll get the message, created a new C# project in C:/Hello World. So now I'm going to do another directory just to see what I get, and notice that there is now a program.cs file and a project.json file. We'll look at both of these later on in this lesson. In fact, let's go ahead and open up the program.cs file. So I'm just going to type in notepad space and then program.cs. And, you know, again, Visual Studio will primarily be the way that I work with applications, but I just wanted to show you how you don't even need Visual Studio. You could use any code editor, even Notepad, in order to build these applications. So hopefully Notepad is mapped so that when you hit enter on your keyboard, it will open up Notepad. If not, you may have to just open up Notepad from Windows and then navigate to that directory and open it up. But at any rate, you can see the template that we get automatically whenever we ran that new command in the .NET driver. And all I really want to do here is just edit this to say, instead of hello world, I'll say hello, comma, .NET Core. That's all we're going to do. And I'll save the changes. And I'll shut this down. All right. So the next thing we need to do is to restore the NuGet packages. So we'll go .NET restore and hit enter. And after a moment or two, it'll grab down any packages that we need for our application. Fortunately, we don't need a lot. We get this log information that it's restoring packages for project.json. So we can see that the NuGet package restoration has something to do with that project.json file. We'll come back to that a little bit later. Notice that the second step is writing a lock file to disk. So it created a project.lock.json file. We'll talk about that in an upcoming lesson. And let's see, that's pretty much it. So it finished in about a second and a half. So the next step then will be to, let's actually open up in Notepad our project.json just to look at it really quick. And we'll become more familiar with some of these entries here, but essentially this will just give us the dependencies, so other NuGet packages that we're going to depend on, plus the frameworks. And frameworks are like collections of NuGet packages, especially that are related to a particular task, like the .NET Core, for example. It has a bunch of packages all kind of related together into a framework, and we'll talk about that maybe a little bit later as well. And then any dependencies that a given framework, in this case the .NET Core App 1.0, depends on. So it's going to rely on a specific type and version of a namespace, and that's really all we're going to look at this point. We'll look again at that a little bit later, but the next step for us is to go .NET run on our command line. And you can see that we get a couple of steps here. First of all, it looks like we do need to compile it because we're missing a compiled assembly for this application. So we're going to compile it again. Compilation succeeded. It only took less than a fraction of a second or about 1 second, I guess. And then we get the output for our application, hello.NET Core. Very cool. And here, let's just do another directory listing. So we can see that now we have the program.cs, a project.json, but we also have this project.lock.json. Furthermore, we have a bin and an object directory. Now, if you're familiar with Visual Studio development, you'll know that these are directories that are output whenever we run our application for the first time in debug mode. So let's change into the bin directory and let's look at what we have there. So at this point, we only have a debug subdirectory. If this was a release version, we would see a second folder called release. We'll look at that a little bit later. Let's go into that debug folder. And you see that we have another subfolder called NetCore App 1.0. Let's change into that directory, NetCore App 1.0, and get a directory there. And here we have all of our, the hello world.dll, a hello world.deps.json, a PDB file. Some of these will look familiar. Then there's some configuration files for the Hello World application. Looks like there may be a dev and a release version and so on. And you might be wondering, well, where is the hello world.exe? And so we'll talk about the different file types that are produced whenever you build an application and how the .NET Core works in order to provide a cross-platform experience and the different types of application models that you can create and what the ramifications are in an upcoming lesson. So we don't see a .exe file, just only a .dll file, and yet the application still runs as a console window application. Just keep that in mind, and we'll come back to that thought. So that's all I wanted to say in this lesson. It's a jumping off point for future lessons. In this lesson, we created a new application using a very simple workflow that utilized the .NET driver application to do various things like create a new project template. We opened it up in Notepad. We were able to restore the packages that are associated with our application. We were able to run our application, and there's actually more that we'll be able to do with that .NET driver in upcoming lessons. And we'll also expand on every step that we took in this lesson in upcoming lessons. Again, this is the jumping off point. So hopefully you're with me so far, and now we're ready to explore deeper into the .NET framework, .NET Core framework. So we'll see you in the next lesson. Thanks.